All right, so here I have 9-5A, which is adding and subtracting rational expressions. Okay, and our objective with this is to evaluate the least common multiple of two polynomials to prepare for addition and subtraction. So with this, like, all we're doing is we're finding the least common multiples. So we're going to kind of look at it with just regular numbers and then with the polynomials, just to kind of get your feet wet with it all. But again, this is to prepare you to be able to add and subtract. So it's a little bit of a brain shift from what we just recently learned, but it still is related to it. Okay? And different kinds of problems can be found on page 507. So the directions are to find the least common multiple, so that's LCM, of the following polynomials. Okay, now before we even do this, we want to just kind of brief over just finding an LCM. So like something like 6 and 9. If I needed to find the least common multiple of 6 and 9, I would find the smallest number that both of them can go into. So both 6 and 9 can go into 18. So therefore 18 is the LCM. Okay, because I'm just looking at multiples of 6 and 9. Then there might be something like 3 and 7. The LCM in this case is really just 3 times 7 because they have nothing else in common until they're being multiplied together. So I would just do 3 times 7 because they had nothing else that I could kind of blend together or move together. We're going to use this idea and we're going to use it on polynomials. One big thing is, in order to find any LCM, you must factor first. So this is how it's very similar to what we were just doing, because you always had to factor first with multiplying and dividing and all of that stuff. So let's look at our first problem here. I have 3x times x plus 2 and 6x times 2x minus 3. And one other thing that I want you to visualize is when you find the LCM, the whole point of learning how to do that and figuring out how to do that is to be able to add fractions, because you're trying to find a common denominator. So that's what I want you to keep in the back of your mind as we're finding the LCMs with this stuff today, is that your end goal with this type of knowledge is to actually add and subtract fractions where you need to find common denominators. So if you notice, this is factored already, and so is this other one. So now we're just going to look for the least common multiples. So what you want to look at first is if there are any monomials, which there are. I've got 3x and 6x. So you want to ask yourself, okay, 3 and 6, what's the least common multiple of 3 and 6? 6 is, okay? And then I have x and x. What's the least common multiple of x and x? X, okay? If I asked you what the least common multiple of 4 and 4 was, you would just say 4, because they can both go into 4. X and x can both go into x, okay? So now I'm going to look at my binomials, okay? And usually what I like to relate this to is when you move in with a roommate, okay? You're going to go to college soon. You might move into a dorm or move into an apartment or whatever. And when you do that, you have to kind of cooperate. You have to like talk to each other about who's bringing what, because you don't need two microwaves in your tiny little dorm room, okay? So you want to make sure that your guys are bringing different stuff. So looking here at x plus 2 and 2x minus 3, those are two different things. They're not the same. They're not they aren't both microwaves, okay? So the x plus 2 is like the microwave. The 2x minus 3 is like the mini fridge. They're two different things that you and your roommate are going to bring together to share in your apartment. So with that, with those binomials, the least common multiple of them are just those two binomials together. Okay, so then that finds my LCM of these two kind of polynomials that you've got there. So my LCM will be 6x times x plus 2 times 2x minus 3. So when we go next lesson to add and subtract, this would actually be your common denominator. Okay, let's look at number 2 here. Number 2, I've got 2x squared minus 8x plus 8 and 3x squared minus 27 minus 30. Oh, I'm sorry, it's plus 27x minus 30. So again, that second one is 3x squared plus 27x minus 30. So we're going to need to factor first, okay? Looking at this binomial, I can take out a 2, and I'm left with x squared minus 4x plus 4. And over here, I can take out a 3, and I'm left with x squared plus 9x minus 10. I then need to do the x method to factor more because I've got a trinomial. Okay, so I'm going to use my x method, and I get x minus 2, and then I've got 3 times x plus 10 times x minus 1. So now let's talk about what we can find in common and what we still need to bring on our list. Okay, so first I'm going to look at my monomials, 2 and 3. What is the least common multiple of 2 and 3? It's 6. Okay, so that takes care of that. Now I need to inspect my binomials here. Okay, so I'm looking at x minus 2. I'm going to see if there are any x minus 2's over here. Nope, there aren't. So I need to bring whatever item that is. Okay, now I'm going to look at this x minus 2. Does it have a buddy to go with? Nope, sure doesn't. So I need to bring that item on the list. Okay, now I'm going to look at my other binomials here. Okay, x plus 10. Does it have any kind of buddy? Nope. Your roommate's got to bring that with her. Okay, and then looking at the x minus 1. Any buddies over here? Surely not. So your roommate's got to bring that as well. So it's like the different things that you're going to bring and your roommate's going to bring, and if there's nothing that overlaps, then you need to bring your stuff and she needs to bring hers, okay, if there's no overlap there. So that means you were clearly communicating because you both didn't buy a microwave and then one of you has to go return it. So that's a good thing, okay? That actually helps out quite a bit. So I've got a couple more problems to look at with this. So we're going to use that for the other video with more least common multiples.